Namaste friends. One of my biggest passions is to spread Homa or havan, to enable spiritual seekers to do a simple fire ritual by themselves so that they can individually progress as well as increase the collective dharma in the world. Today, I want to describe the backstory of our Do Homa Yourself movement, and I will also describe the importance of Homa or Havan in general, worshipping the divine through the medium of fire, and describe a simple procedure with the steps and the meaning of those steps, and then answer a lot of common questions people may have, and also cover a lot of practicalities that people need to know if they are going to do it themselves. First, let me give the backstory. Dr. Manish Pandit, he is a doctor specializing in nuclear medicine and also a filmmaker who made the acclaimed film Krishna History or Myth. He is also astronomer who collaborated with Professor Narahari Achar on the timing of Mahabharata using various astronomical clues given by Vyasa in Mahabharata. He contacted me in mid 2004, I think maybe June 2004, by himself, and he told me, Narasimha, you are doing a lot of pujas, but you are not experiencing anything. Time has come for that. And I took him easy. I did not take him seriously at the time. Later, in I think October 2004, he sent me a Rudrakshamala he prepared for me, and he asked me to do a specific sadhana with the Gayatri mantra with specific yama and niyama. I just ignored all that for many months. He never put pressure on me. He just kept calling me now and then, talk about things in general. In one of those calls in November 2004, he told me that he had an intuition that on the Dattatreya Jayanti day in December 2004, there will be a major disaster in South India as a result of arresting Swami Jayendra Saraswati, which happened in November 2004 before this intuition. And indeed, on the Dattatreya Jayanti day, there was a tsunami in South India, and that made me curious. And also, slowly I developed some faith in him. And on Vaisakha Purnima in May 2005, I actually started the sadhana that he asked me to do. And on the 18th day, I experienced something so profound and tremendous that it basically changed my perspective in life, what life is, who I am, what is reality, what is delusion. Basically, my whole perspective was totally transformed with that experience, and there were a string of experiences. And of course, Manish kept calling me and talking to me now and then. In October 2005, he told me about another intuition. He said that in second half of 2006, there can be another major disaster in South India, and he said that this time we have to do something to avert it. And he also thought that we had a rana to the institution of Sankaracharya. So he said that for the relief of Swami Jayendra Saraswati, with a very narrow and specific sankalpa for relief from legal problems to Swami Jayendra Saraswati, he wanted to do a Satachandi Homa. This is basically 100 times Chandi Part, 100 times Durga Saptasati. So he asked me to look for a hall in either Chennai or Hyderabad, and he was also looking for a hall in Pune. He's from Pune. And let's enter Swami Sadasivam. Around the time I had some experiences. A couple of months later, we met Swami Sadasivam and became very close to him. This was in the August, September, October 2005 time frame. He became very close to us. He's a Sivacharya in a traditional Sivacharya family in South India, and he is the head priest of Kalikambal temple in Chennai. This is a temple where Sadguru Samathramadas sent Shivaji Maharaj to worship the Devi before a major battle. It is a very powerful and ancient temple. And Swami Sadasivam said, when I mentioned what Manish wanted to do, his sankalpa to do Satachandi Homa to him, he said, why do you need a hall? If you really want a hall, I can find a hall in Chennai. I know a lot of people in Chennai. But you can do it at my temple. You just come and sit. I will make all arrangements. And When I told it to Manish, he said, yeah, I think we have a runa to that temple. It will be that temple. Let's do it there. So in February, March 2006, we did the Satadandi Homa. It is a week-long ritual. And as soon as Manish entered the temple, he found something interesting. He had a dream several months back where he saw, I believe, eight siddhas. They directed him in the dream to go to a place in South India and establish a huge auspicious fire that that does good for dharma on earth. So he didn't think much of the dream, and later when we went to the temple, he saw that the exact siddhas he saw in dream were there at the temple in ethereal form, not physically. So he was intrigued by that, and later during the ritual on a Friday afternoon, when the temple was closed and everybody left and there was only one more person apart from Manish on the premises, after finishing a Chandi part and when he was doing meditation, he was given darshan by Devi, and she gave an adesh to Manish. She said, simplify and make Homa accessible to all, irrespective of race, irrespective of ethnicity, irrespective of gender, irrespective of Varna. Anyone who wants to do fire worship as a spiritual sadhana and wants to progress individually and wants to contribute to an increase of dharma in the world, enable them and make it very simple. And though Manish did not tell about that darshan, that vision and the adesh to anybody for many months, Swami Sadasivam perhaps sensed it and he enabled us. He gave us home kondas and lot of things you need to do homa, and gave a bunch of books with various different procedures of homa so that we could consolidate and come up with manuals. So that happened, and then Manish told me, hey Narasimha, so and so person, actually this is a person who used to live near me, actually still lives near me, and he was the only person on the premises when the Devi gave darshan. He did not see anything, but he smelled something really special. So anyway, Manish said this person needs to do a homa to solve his problems. At that time, I believe he was not married. He was pretty old, but he was not married. So Manish said he needs to get married and get children. He really needs to do homa. Teach him homa. So in order to teach him, I had to do it myself. So I started doing homa. I used the books that Swami Sadasivam gave. I experimented with different styles of homa and I consolidated a simple procedure and taught it to my friend. And he said, oh, my memory is poor, I can't remember it. Can you write it down? So I wrote down the instructions. I typed down a cheat sheet and gave it to him, gave the printout. And when I told it to Manish, he said, if you have the cheat sheet, put it on the web, internet. Other people can also benefit. Then I thought, being a Vargolagna person who likes some kind of perfection, I thought instead of a cheat sheet, there should be some clear instructions that are easy to follow. So I created a manual. So that is how the first Ganpati Homa manual was created and put online in December 2006. And Manish said, well, there are other devatas like Vishnu, Shiva, Lakshmi, etc., Rama, Narasimha, Krishna. Other people may be interested in other devatas. For example, somebody from ISKCON may want to do only Krishna Homa, no Ganpati Homa. So why don't you create other manuals? So under Manish's guidance, I created manuals for various devatas. Right now we have different levels of Homa manuals, simplest, simple, regular, like that, for 32 devatas on our website. So that is what we have now. We do not have any organization and we have no plans for it. In fact, when I mentioned it, Manish said, that's not the way of the rishis. Rishis just put out things publicly and basically things grew by themselves. When you have organization, there is scope for a lot of politics. Basically, once you let the cat out of the bag, you can't bell the cat. It can go out of control. So he said, we don't need all those strings. We just follow the way of the rishis, follow the way of the sun, who just puts his light out. Anybody can benefit, and no need for any grouping or organization. So on the website, I will mention the links later. On the website, there are a lot of free resources and there are no strings attached. You don't need to subscribe to any philosophy. You don't need to respect me or Manish or our Guru Parampara. You don't need to give us anything in return. You just benefit from them. But before I continue with the presentation, I want to pay my respect to our Guru Parampara. This is Sri Nakhate Maharaj. He is the Guru of my Guru Dr. Manish Pandit, and he is Golwani Maharaj, and he is the Guru of Nakhate Maharaj in Pune. And he had two Gurus. This is Lokatirtha Maharaj, and this is Tembe Swami or Vasudevananda Saraswati. Sri Vasudevananda Saraswati Tembe Swami, he was very learned in Sanskrita. He was a great scholar. He was considered to be an avatar of Dattatreya, and he, without fail, every day he did two rituals, Homa and Tarpana. These are really important rituals. One is fire, one is water, extremely important rituals. He did it till the end of his life. Even on the last day when he tried to do Tarpana, when his water was shaking and he was not able to hold the water, still he tried a few times, and in the end he basically gave up and said, Ishvara Ichha, and then basically that was his last day. And as far as Homa is concerned, he not only did Homa, but he ate only the food that was offered in the fire. See, only sattvic materials are normally put in fire. You don't put some other kinds of food. So he basically made sure that he ate only food that could be offered in fire. So he offered a little of the food in the fire, and only that food he consumed. So I just want to hope that he blesses us in this effort, in this presentation, as well as anybody who's inspired by this presentation. May their lives be transformed with the blessings of Dattatreya. And also there is an influence of Sri Vimlananda. I want to acknowledge it. Manish was highly influenced by Sri Vimlananda. There are Aghora series books written by a great scholar, Dr. Robert Svoboda. Aghora, Kundalini and Karma. I think these are the three books in the Aghora series. And he's a disciple of Vimlananda. The interesting thing about Vimlananda is when he was around 20 years of age, he had a darshan of Ma Tara, and Mother Tara gave him all the knowledge, and he basically but he was not prominent. He basically lived a very secret life. There were a few sishyas around him that he guided, but nobody knew his stature until he died. And he instructed Dr. Robert Svoboda to write about his life story only after he left earth. So very interesting personality. He did not believe in creating gurudom and being a big guru, lot of people around him. And these books, people who are not interested in the left-handed tantra or aghora may be put off by a few specific things in the book, but there is a lot of subtle spiritual knowledge in these books that is generic, not specific to aghora. This is a really nice series of books. So anyway, Manish was highly influenced by that series. And in one of the books, I think the second book, Kundalini, in that Vimlananda says, my children will spread Homa around the world. So this was one of the things that inspired Manish. And also by Sri Vimla, he believes that he was guided ethereally by Vimlananda and his Guru, Junior Guru Maharaj. I just want to pay my obeisance to him. And we are also personally, we are blessed to have some association of Dr. Robert Svoboda, who is one of the wisest people I have met. And great scholars of yoga, tantra, Ayurveda, and in general a very equanimous person. This is Swami Sadasivam, my wife Padmaja, and this is Dr. Svoboda. Just a few pictures. This is at our home. So this is the current logo of our Homa movement. Like I said, we have no organization. This is just a picture I put up. This is, by the way, in Aghora series, he appears as Junior Guru Maharaj. He is the Guru of Sri Vimlananda. He lived for a few hundred years, and he used to do Homa, and he worshipped Gayatri Devi, and he used to live in Simhachalam in the last 70 years of his life. And he is also known as Gayatri Baba or Jatala Sadhu in Simhachalam. Anyway, so I just wanted to, before I talk about the importance of Homa and answer common questions, I wanted to pay my respects to various people whose blessings are behind this movement. And we recently had a Homa workshop in Washington DC, I just wanted to share a couple of pictures from it. This is Swami Sadasivam, he's in Monavratam for the last 6.5 years, but he blessed us with his energetic presence. And on the first day, I explained the importance of Homa, I described the procedure, and I did a practical demonstration. I did a Homa with very simple mantras that people could chant along. So people chanted along and they meditated sitting on all the 4 directions of me. And on the second day, people did 3 different Homas. The first Homa was a pretend Homa. Basically, do the whole procedure without real fire and real materials, so that you become familiar with the procedure and the mantras. And the second Homa was a actual Homa with real fire and real materials, but guided. I was chanting the mantras and they were chanting along. The third one was totally independent. And at the end of it, they got confidence so that they could go home and do it by themselves. And this was the first such event that we organized. This was on April 30 and May 1st of 2022. And mother willing, there may be more events like this, either by me or by Dr. Manish Pandit or both of us in other places in the world. But you don't have to wait for it. You can download the manuals and do it yourself. Now let us talk about the importance of Agni. Agni is the doorway to the divine, and that's basically what this scriptural saying says, literally. Agni mukha vai devaha. Agni, fire, is the doorway to the divine. And the thing is, this is the fact that you can reach the divine through fire easier is not just something that Hindus knew. This was known to many ancient cultures, and fire was worshipped in many ancient cultures. And some modern people say that, oh yeah, ancient people worship fire because it saved them from wild animals in the night. But the thing is, if you look at some aboriginal cultures, they worship fire even in the day, not just in the night. So people knew that it was sharpening their intuition. It was sharpening their connection to something that cannot be perceived. So people knew about the importance of fire. And also, if you look at our Veda, our highest scripture, Agni is the first guru and the foremost priest. And Agni was part of Nityakarma not so long back. Actually, even now it is part of Nityakarma, except that many people are not doing it. It is part of the prescribed daily routine, doing even a short Agni Karyam. And the thing is, the company of Agni is purifying and transformational. It makes the meditation more effective. In general, we resonate with whoever we spend time with. Mind's nature, mind has infinite abilities. It resonates with its company. So if you spend a lot of time with a film buff, the film buff inside your mind becomes strong. So you become more interested in films. If you spend a lot of time with a sports buff, the sport buff inside your mind becomes strong. You basically become more interested in sports. Like that, if you spend time with fire, the fire that is within you becomes strong. And what do we mean by the fire within us? Well, soul. The soul that is in the cave of heart, that is sustaining our entire existence, that is basically a contained fire. Just like sun in the solar system is a contained fire. And both are important for dharma and maintaining order. Well, dharma is basically maintaining order. Sun supports the life in solar system. Similarly, soul supports the life inside a body. And there is a resonance between sun, soul, and external fire. If we spend a lot of time with external fire, the company of Agni strengthens the soul. It brings spiritual clarity. Soul will become more predominant in our existence. And also, externally, the offerings to Agni subtly feed sun. And sun is the keeper of dharma in the solar system. So it increases dharma in our world. As a matter of fact, until a few decades back, or even a few centuries back, a lot of people were doing Agni Karyam as a Nityakarma. Now very few people are doing. Even the few who are doing, they may be doing for specific sankalpas, for specific clients, etc. Just as an offering to universe, just an offering to the devas. Doing an Agni Karyam on a regular basis has really come down, and that is one of the reasons for the decreasing dharma in the world. And Agni was given a lot of importance in Veda and Upanishads. If you look at Rig Veda, the very first verse of Rig Veda is Agnimile Purohitam Yajnasya Devamritvijam Hotaram Ratnadhatamam. It means I glorify the high priest Agni, who is the god, the minister, and the invoker in holy sacrifice, and also the bestower of the greatest wealth, including inner wealth. One more from Rigveda. This says, Agnina Raim, this says, through Agni one obtains affluence, fame, and strength that are ever increasing day by day. In other words, Agni is the multiplier of good deeds and the fruits of those good karmas. One more verse from Rigveda. It says, Agni is the illuminator of the sacrifice and the careful protector of those who worship him, as well as swift moving messenger of gods. He is the messenger of gods. He takes our prayers to gods. He brings the blessings from gods, and he carefully protects those who worship him or worship gods through him. There are lot of verses extolling Agni and the worship of Agni in Veda and Upanishads. I'm just giving a few samples here. I can't possibly give everything. One more from each Upanishad. This is actually used in some of the longer procedures at the end of a Homa. It says, O Agni, guide us along the righteous path to the enjoyment of the fruits of our deeds and to knowing God. Remove sins and delusions from us. We offer thee many prostrations. So he helps us to walk on a righteous path, to enjoy the fruits of our karmas, and also to finally know God, for God realization. So Agni can help one with material life as well as with spiritual life. Now let us look at procedure. By the way, there are various procedures given, Vedic, Tantric. What I will be describing is a very simple version of Vedic procedure. And of course, if you are initiated by a guru in some other procedure, you can do that procedure. We are not about this is the only way you can do. As a matter of fact, on my website there are multiple manuals at different levels. So it is possible to do at different levels, but I want people to start with something really simple so that there is no barrier. People can do it on a regular basis. It will be easier to do on a regular basis if it's a simple procedure. And by the way, one more thing is, the procedure that I'm going to describe is very similar to what people may be doing on a daily basis with pujas. People may worship God in an idol or a kalsa with a little bit of overhead. Just a few extra things, you can convert that to a homa. So a simple procedure involves the initial portions. There is a pre-fire portion, and that is common to other pujas, not just homa. And then there are some initial offerings in fire. This is specific to homa. This is a new procedure that you may not be familiar with. And then you call the devata into fire and do upacharas to the devata. And this is similar to calling a devata into an idol or into a kalasha. So it is basically very similar. And the main portion, you make offerings to devata with a mantra. Again, if you are doing a normal puja, you may be chanting some mantra. So this is akin to that. And then there are some final offerings to certain devatas, Vedic devatas in the fire. So these initial offerings and final offerings, and finally Purnahati. These are the extra things. Otherwise, this is like a normal puja you might be doing currently to an idol or a kalasya, etc. So let's talk about these steps now. In the pre-fire portion, as I said, this is common with standard pujas. It covers the 5 elements. First, earth element. You handle the earth element. You purify, you regulate the earth element by nicely sitting down and thanking Mother Earth and praying to Ganapati to avoid obstacles. And then you regulate the water element and you handle the water element by doing achamanam. You sip water 3 times. And then you light a lamp and look at the lamp with focus for a few seconds. That strengthens the fire element inside you, that regulates and purifies the fire element inside you. And then you do pranayama. Pranayama is regulating the breath, and that regulates the air element inside you. And after that, you take a sankalpa. Sankalpa is basically declaring your intention, and that regulates and channels the space element inside you. So you are basically regulating and channeling all the four elements through these steps, and this is common to other pujas also. Then the new thing is fire. You light fire with a specific mantra. It is just Om Bhur Bhuva Svar Om. And then you offer 8 drops of ghee with a specific mantra. Om Bhur Bhuva Sva Swaha. With that, you offer 8 drops, or some do 16. And this is basically akin to doing samskaras to a baby, a newborn baby. You do various samskaras like teaching alphabet, feeding food for the first time. When you do these samskaras, just as the person grows big physically as well as emotionally, when you do these, when you offer these drops of ghee, fire becomes bigger. So that's the practical thing, and this is akin to doing samskaras to Agni. And then you make offerings to some key devatas. You make an offering to Prajapati, Indra, Agni, Soma, Prajapati, Ganapati, Varna. Prajapati, he controls the Muladhara chakra, which is at the base of spine. This is where our consciousness is currently rooted, the world around us, and Prajapati is the controller. So that's why you make an offering to Prajapati. And then the consciousness that is rooted in the world around us can ascend through 3 channels. There are 3 subtle channels, nadis. One is Sushumna Nadi, the middle channel of pure knowing. And then Pingala Nadi, on the right side, the solar channel of objective thinking, analysis, breaking things down, etc. And then Ida Nadi, the lunar channel of feeling, emotion, intuition, and structured thinking, as opposed to structured thinking. So these are controlled by Indra, Agni, and Soma. And then finally, you make an offering to Prajapati. Instead of Om Prajapataye Swaha here, you say Om Bhurbhuva Sva Swaha with a different mantra. Bhu, Bhuva, and Suva. They correspond to the 3 realms of experience, 3 realms of being: physical, mental, and spiritual. And Prajapati is the creator of all those 3 realms. So you make an offering to the creator of all those 3 realms. And then you make an offering to Ganapati so that you have good planning and you can avoid obstacles in the rest of the puja. And Varuna, in case you still get obstacles, you need persistence to fight them. And Varuna gives that persistence. So you make offerings to these devatas. So just a few offerings in fire, and after that you cast into the fire. And this is similar to inviting the main devata into something else, into an idol or coin or a kalasha, etc. And then once you invite the devata, you really, the key is you have to really think that God is in that fire. Then, or idol if you are using idol. And then you do 5 upacharas corresponding to 5 elements. And again, this is common to other pujas. For the earth element, you offer sandalwood powder, because earth element controls the sense of smell, according to yoga. And then space element, the Akasha Tattva, you offer flower for it. The thing is, Akasha is the element that is everywhere. Everything exists within Akasha. It is superimposed on top of Akasha, but you can't specifically say this is where Akasha is. That's the beauty of Akasha. Similarly, in a flower, the potential for a whole forest exists. From a flower, a fruit comes. From a fruit, seeds come. From seeds, plants come. From plants, trees come. From those trees, further trees come. So, potential of a whole huge forest exists in a flower. Similarly, in space, potential for a whole universe exists. So that is why flower is offered for space. And then for the air element, you offer incense stick, dhupam. And then for fire element, you show a lamp. For water element, you offer a naivedyam, because tasting food is of Jalatattva, watery nature. Then the main portion, this is known as Pradhana Homam. You chant any mantras of main devata while making offerings in fire. You pick any mantras, shlokas, stotras, etc. And after everything you say swaha and make an offering in the fire. So this is just like, if you have an idol, you do like Vishnu Sahasranama Stotram or some prayer, Subramanya Ashtakam, etc. You may be, or Hanuman Chalisa, you may be currently doing to an idol, and you basically do it in fire with a swaha and with an offering in the fire. And each mantra can be chanted any number of times, counts of 4, 8, 12, 21, 28, 54, 64, 81, 108, and multiples of 108 and 1008, etc. are common. But you can really use any count. And by the way, you can stop making offerings in the middle and just meditate while doing the homa. If you have enough material there that you know that fire will keep going for a while without your intervention, you can just meditate. You don't have to keep making offerings. Other thing is, if you are uncomfortable with keeping a count, because one hand is busy with making offerings, you can use the other hand to keep the count. But if you are uncomfortable with that, you can skip that. It's not really, counts are not really important. As a matter of fact, in order to keep counts, people sometimes hurry. They have a target, and to meet the target, they just hurry. Om Nara, Om Nama Narayana, Om Nama Narayana, Om Nama, like that. Instead, you do Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, just a few times. It is still more effective. You really need to have that feeling in what you are doing. So, counts are not that important. But if you want to follow convention, some conventional numbers are used. So as you can tell from this is highly scalable. You can use any number of mantras and any number of times each of those. So this is highly scalable. So with the same procedure, you can do 10-minute homa, you can do 10-hour homa. And then this is again unique to homa. You make offerings in fire to two groups of devatas who are very important for our existence. The first group is, these are the devatas who cover the three realms of experience, three realms of awareness. For the physical realm, Agni. For the mental realm, Vayu. For the spiritual realm, Surya. Why Vayu for mental realm? Why Agni for physical realm? Well, it is the Agni is the transformational agent, and entire everything in the physical realm is basically a result of some transformation or the other. So you worship Agni for the physical realm, and mind is nothing but notions, various thoughts, concepts, notions. So all those notions are just movement in the consciousness. So that is why Vayu, who really stands for movement, he is the controller of the mental realm. And when it comes to spiritual realm, just throwing light on things, just making something visible, that is basically the thing. So that is why Surya. And then the second group is Trinity, Trimurtis. You make offerings to Prajapati, Vishnu and Rudra, the creator, sustainer and destroyer, or a better word is recycler. Unless you destroy something, you can't recycle it into a newer and fresher form. So creator, sustainer and recycler. You make offerings to Prajapati, Vishnu and Rudra. And then there are some Parshada Devatas, some attendants of Devatas who cannot accept offerings in the fire, who basically are around us in ethereal form. So we actually make physical offerings to them so that they can perceive that food with their senses. So there are some, it's called Bali. You offer some raisins or fruit slices or fruits or cooked white rice balls around the Homakunda in a specific manner for those devatas. And at the end, you offer Purnahuti. It really stands for Purna plus Ahuti. It stands for complete surrender. And typically a whole dry coconut is offered traditionally. And of course, these days it has also become fashionable to use a jacket piece, a cloth, put coconut and lot of materials and tie it. But really, whole dry coconut is the simplest and best Purnahuti. It symbolizes head. Coconut symbolizes head. Basically, ego is head is the center of ego, is the seat of ego, and ego is what we are surrendering in the Purnahuti. So really, any material with complete surrender is fine. I have seen priests in US just offering ghee as Purnahuti when they don't have anything else. Just offer a little bit of ghee, and then that's it basically. Anything you offer in fire with complete surrender is the key. But the beauty of offering a whole or half dry coconut is you can offer it. Once it catches fire, it will burn for the next 20 minutes or so. So you can just sit and meditate for the next 15-20 minutes without having to do anything to keep the fire going. So that is the beauty of this particular offering. And then you can make a final offering to Agni, the messenger, basically like a vote of thanks to Agni Deva. And the last but not least is, while the Purnahuti burns, try to meditate. And that is the most important part of Homa. Even if you Even if your ritual is long, if you basically don't meditate at the end of the Homa, you're missing the beauty of Homa. At a lot of temples I see, people make Purnahati and then everybody goes and does other things. Sit there while the fire burns and really try to feel that you are just a dummy. God is the door, you are just an instrument, and meditate for a while. And it will be really, such meditation is likely to be the most fruitful meditation for you. So just to review, the initial portions, the pre-fire portion is common to other pujas, then initial offerings to a few Vedic Vaidika devatas, and then you call the devata into fire and do upacharas. By the way, there are 5 upacharas, 16, 64, etc. I described 5 here, that is the simplest. And then the main portion is you make offerings to the devata with any mantras, and then final offerings to 6 specific devatas, 2 groups of 3 devatas each, and then Purnahati. So initial offerings, final offerings, and Purnahati are different. Other than that, this is like a normal puja. So any puja that you currently do to any devata can be converted to a Homa with very little overhead. Now let us talk about a few common questions people may have. A lot of people ask, can I do by myself? Can I really do by myself? When we say that, we have this do Homa by yourself movement, and we have these manuals, or when people discover my website and see these manuals, they wonder, can I really do by myself? Yes, people can do by themselves. As a matter of fact, in different yugas, there is a different Dharmasastra Pravakta, different authority for Dharma, for the code of conduct. And for example, for Treta Yuga, it was Gautama, my Gotra Rishi. For this current age, for Kali Yuga, Parasara Maharshi is the Dharmasastra authority. And in a text called Parasara Madhaviyam, there is a very interesting saying. It says, compared to a ritual such as Homa, done in one name by a priest, a ritual done by one's own Sishya is 100 times more effective. And compared to that, a ritual done by one's own son or father is further 100 times more effective. And compared to that, a ritual done by oneself is further 100 times more effective. The lesson is, in Kali Yuga, people's ability to identify with someone else and generate results for someone else is limited. Everybody is thinking about their own agendas, their own thoughts, their own vasanas, etc. So people will be better off doing things by themselves. Based on the formula I gave, a ritual done by oneself is 100 times more times more effective, which is, what is it, 1 and 6 zeros. So that's a million times more effective than a ritual done by a priest in one's name. Of course, if you get a good priest, you can get it done by a priest. If you really can't do by yourself, you can get it done. I'm not against that. And even if you do by yourself, it is a good idea to donate money to priests and sustain them. That is important. But people can do by oneself. One can do by oneself. Is a guru needed? Guru always helps so that he or she can remove your confusions and give you direction whenever you are lost. But guru is not needed. Lot of these mantras and procedures are given by rishis in a open domain format. Rishis really like the open domain thing, public domain thing. Right now, everything in the world, in the software world, there is this open domain the wave, but rishis followed it long back. They just put everything out there. So they are your gurus. You can take rishis as your gurus. And remember one thing, if you really are sincere and do something, somebody will guide you. You may or may not know it, but somebody will guide you. So don't worry about it. I would like to give an analogy here. Suppose there is a millionaire and his son is starting an account, a bank account. The millionaire may give $1 million to his son. So he may start the bank account start off with $1 million balance. But he can blow all that money away. He can lose all that money if he is not savvy, if he doesn't know how to do business well by himself. So the money can come down to zero in time. On the other hand, somebody who basically doesn't have any balance, works hard and starts an account with minimum balance and then keeps adding, he can become millionaire after a few years. Similarly, one who has a good guru and received some Shakti to start with his sadhana may waste it, squander it, and reach nowhere. On the other hand, somebody without a guru, starting with zero bank balance, may be devoted to rishis and devatas and may progress and may become realized. So, guru is useful but not really necessary. And of course, if you really need to have a guru figure, you can think of me or Dr. Manish Pandit or Swami Sadasivam or Vasudevananda Saraswati Swami as your gurus. But anyway, this is no strings attached. You can basically take us as gurus, but we don't expect anything in return from you. As a matter of fact, as I said in one Facebook post a while back, Surya, sun is my ideal. He gives his light so that anybody can use it and do whatever they want with it. He basically does not need anything back from people. He doesn't ask for anything back. He just gives unconditionally. And my approach is the same when it comes to astrology and spirituality. And is it important to do regularly, or can I just do once every year? Well, let me give an analogy. Suppose you eat a big feast, a 10 course or 16 course meal once every 6 months or 1 year. Will it strengthen you? Not really. As a matter of fact, if you overeat that day, it may even cause indigestion. On the other hand, if you eat something simple every day, like dal chawal, little bit of dal chawal, or little bit of roti chawal, or little bit of bread and peanut butter, bread and jam, you just eat it every day, it gives you more strength than a huge feast once every year. Similarly, if you do sadhana regularly, it strengthens you spiritually more than a big puja done once in a blue moon. Now, one thing which unfortunately became controversial in our age is, can non-Brahmanas do it? The specific guidance from the Divine Mother when she gave a darshan to my guru to spread Homa is, don't look at Varna, don't look at gender. Anyone who's interested in spiritual progress, enable them to do. So as far as we are concerned, we have a clear guidance that anybody can do. And the other thing is, if you look at our Shastras, these Varnas were really meant to be fluid. For example, Vishwamitra was born as a Kshatriya but became a Rishi, a Brahmarshi later on. Valmiki was born as a Shudra. He was a hunter by birth, but he became a Brahmana and also a Brahmarshi later on. You get the Varna literally means color. Varna is the color of your mind. It is the nature, aptitude of your mind, what your mind is drawn to. Those who are interested in God and knowledge are Brahmanas. Those who are interested in physical strength, might, valor, and use it to protect people around them are Kshatriyas. And those who are interested in dealing with a lot of people and figuring out where to buy what, where to sell what, and make money, those are Vaishyas. And those who serve these people dharmically are Shudras. And those who are greedy and break dharma are Chandalas. As a matter of fact, many people nowadays are probably Chandalas, irrespective of their birth Varna. Going back to Varna, obviously a young person will learn from his father. So if the father has certain aptitude and certain line of work, the son or daughter is likely to be exposed to that and start off with that attitude. So that is why your Jati Varna, which means by birth Varna, your Jati Varna is that of your father. But as you grow and evolve, your own Varna will take over. Just as Vishwamitra and Valmiki became Brahmanas, your own Varna will take over. And the thing is, if somebody is interested in spiritual progress, and if somebody is interested in doing Homa for universal good and accept whatever good comes their way by God as a result of it unconditionally, they are on their way to becoming Brahmanas. So they can certainly do. So if you, irrespective of your birth caste, birth Varna, if you are interested in spiritual progress and if you are interested in making unconditional surrender and offerings to God and contribute to universal dharma through the medium of fire, you can do Homa. Can women do it? Again, unfortunately, this has become controversial in Kali Yuga, but women can do Homa. There is a clear pramana in Ramayana. In Ramayana, there is a section where Rama goes to the inner quarters of his mother, the Antapuram of his mother, And then the Paricharikas, the servant maids of Kausalya, they tell him she's doing her daily homa, she's making offerings in the fire with some Vedic hymns. So you can go and meet her there, or you can wait here. So Kausalya was doing on a daily basis. She was doing a homa by herself in her antahpuram. So and also there is another reference in Ramayana that everybody in the Ayodhya used to do homa every day. So women can do homa. As a matter of fact, in Sakori, which is near Shirdi, there is a beautiful temple there. There was a scholar of 4 Vedas called Upasni Maharaj, who was a contemporary of Sai Baba, Shirdi Sai Baba. He he was a reformer. He was a learned scholar in Veda, and he was a reformer. He taught Veda to women, and also he taught Yajna to women. Women did fire ritual by themselves there. It's a really beautiful place. If you ever go to Shirdi, Sakori is more peaceful than even Shirdi. Now, philosophically, taking a step back, some people ask, why do we even need rituals? Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Just realize that all is self and you're all set. Why all these rituals? So, some people downplay and also look down upon rituals. And this is really pseudo wisdom. This is basically pseudo Vedanta. The thing is, Vedanta is, of course, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. But the thing is, Vedanta is Veda Anta. It is the end of Veda. It is the end of knowledge. It is the culmination point. But the thing is, to reach that culmination point, you have to walk. And Veda is filled with rituals. So you have to really do various actions. And the thing is, let me give an analogy. There is an analogy given by Vasishtha Maharshi in Yoga Vasishtam. Oh, by the way, it's a really brilliant text of Advaita, really perfect book. It was basically when Rama was in Nirvedam, he was in kind of depression about life, what was the purpose of life, etc. This is when he was a teenager before his marriage. Vasishtha teaches him about the purpose of life. And he talks about Advaita Vedanta, but he says Gnana and Karma, wisdom and actions, are knowledge and practice. These are basically 2 wings with which the bird of individual self flies away into the infinite self and realizes that it's all delusion, it's all infinite self anyway. But the thing is, in order to realize that, you need some practice, you need some karma, you need some action. So rituals are helpful. There is another analogy in Upanishads. One who has wisdom that all is self, but does no actions or rituals that reinforce it more and more permanently in his consciousness, he's basically like a person with eyes but handicapped, stuck in a davanala, stuck in a wildfire. Suppose there is a wildfire, somebody who has eyes can see that wildfire, but he can't run away from it because he's handicapped, his legs are broken. On the other hand, somebody who's ritualistic, who's constantly doing rituals, but does not realize the true purpose, the final purpose, the culmination point. He's like somebody who has legs but no eyes, a blind person. So he can run away from the fire, but he can't see, so he may be running into the fire. So really you need both. Just like Vasishtha said, bird cannot fly with just one wing. It needs both the wings. Then only there will be balance. So similarly, you need to have actions and the wisdom. You need to realize that I am doing this, but God is doing through me. I am just an instrument. You need to have that attitude, but still do rituals to pay off your debts to various beings of that universe that you have a rana to. And if you don't do that, it will be just saying that all is self. You don't realize that all is self. It is very easy to say all is self, but suppose, let me give an extreme example. Suppose my hand is cut off right now and blood is just coming out so fast, and I know that in a few seconds or minutes I am going to die. Can I still say I am self? This blood that is coming out is self. This hand is self. This broken piece of hand is self. I am going to merge in self in a few minutes and remain calm. No. Many of us cannot. We will panic. And if that is the case, your realization is just bookish. It's not real. So for real realization, you need to walk the path. And various rituals, various practices are helpful. On the other extreme, while this set of people will downplay rituals, the other extreme is some people are afraid. They think that rituals have to be perfect. If you get something wrong, terrible things are going to happen. So people don't even get started. And the sad thing is, they realize the importance of ritual, but they think it's too important. Let us put it this way. See, after every ritual, you do mantra hinam kriya hinam bhakti hinam janardana yat pujidam maya deva varponam tadastute. Irrespective of my mistakes, please forgive me. God is doing through you. If you really think that God is doing through you, God, depending on the vessel, so is the action of God through that vessel. So depending on your capability, there will be mistakes in the beginning. It's okay. And then if you are humble enough about it, and if you have the sense of surrender, you will find corrections in time. So you shouldn't really, if you don't start at all, because you won't do it perfectly, that's a bad thing. To give another example, most people in this age don't breathe right. Their breathing in and breathing out is not perfect, because there is so much stress accumulated in the system and nadis, and things are not really natural and organic. So, but the thing is, because your breathing may be imperfect, you don't stop breathing. So similarly, making offerings in fire to various devatas, the key devatas of this universe, it is your dharma. It is prescribed daily duty. So you should not skip it just because you are afraid that you may make mistakes. You will make mistakes. It's okay. And then some people do pujas for specific results, basically kamya karma. And some people do just for spiritual progress. And my suggestion is, unless you are being guided by someone who knows what he is doing and you have trust in that person, just do for spiritual progress. Just ask God, give me spiritual progress, and materially whatever is appropriate for me, give it to me. Whatever is right for me, give it to me. Sometimes we don't know what is right for us. What we think is good for us and what we really desire may be disastrous for us sometimes. We may not realize it until we get it, and bad things happen as a result. So let God give what is the right thing for you at the right time, and have that sense. As a matter of fact, one of the Navanathas, I think it was Gorakshanath, also known as Gorakhnath, he said, if you don't ask, you get milk. If you ask, you get water. If you try to snatch, you get blood. So best is don't ask for anything and let God give you. And the other thing is, in Kali Yuga, various procedures that are guaranteed to give specific results have been corrupted, they have been logged, and the key has been thrown away. So there may be some traditions where certain specific procedures may be known, but in general, in the public domain, all that knowledge is lost or corrupted. So in my opinion, you are unlikely, even if you pursue this, you are unlikely to get knowledge of such kamya karmas. There will be some imperfection and it won't work. And the thing is, even if it works, it may or may not be good for you. So better just surrender and do with a sense of surrender. Because Sri Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, when he said, I am Rishi, among Rishis, I am Bhrigu, among lunar months, I am Margasesha, like that he taught various things. So there he said, among homas, I am Japa Homa. So among yajnas, I am Japa Yajna. So some people think that, Japa is superior to Homa. That's not completely untrue, but it is misleading to say that. In the same set of verses, Sri Krishna also said, among mantras, I am Om, I am the Pranava. But the thing is, does it stop us from doing other mantras? Do we just say Om? No. Why? Because Om is the culmination. It is like the Brahman. Whereas various other mantras have various conditions, various gunas. So they are like various devatas with specific gunas, specific nature, specific karmic momentum, etc. So depending on your current condition, different mantras will be more attractive to your mind, and also they will help you fulfill your gunas better. So for many people, various mantras, whether it is the Chandi Navarna mantra, Ashtakshari, Panchakshari, Mahamantra, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. There are so many nice mantras. Gayatri mantra, very supreme mantra. All these mantras are there, but really, in the end, they all merge in Om. Om is the culmination, but just doing Om continuously is not effective for most people. you reach the state of Om through other mantras. Similarly, you reach the state of Japa through other homas. If the inner fire is really strong, you just do Japa. So mantra is being offered in the inner fire, in the Sushumna Nadi, the fire that is brightly burning in the Sushumna Nadi, you are making offering in that. So japa is very effective. You don't need external fire because internal fire is very strong. Your spirit is really, your spiritual strength, spiritual clarity is very high. Your soul has really expressed itself. It's not suppressed by a lot of vasanas, a lot of conditioning. If that's the case, japa is perfect. But the thing is, most of us are not there. So if you use external fire, through resonance, internal fire will become strong and your japa will become stronger. There is one more notion of Dasyamsha Homa. There is a tradition in Agamas and also in some tantric traditions of doing Dasyamsha Homa. You do japa for certain count and do Homa for 1/10 of that. There are different interpretations of that. In some traditions, you do a mantra for 1 lakh times, let us say, and then 1/10 of that, 10,000 times you do Homa. In another tradition, you do 90,000 times japa and then 10,000 Homa. So combined count is 1 lakh. Bottom line is Homa for a shorter count compared to japa. This tradition is there, but this is relatively modern. This is only found in Agamas and Tantra Shastras. And in the Vedas and Upanishads, there is always extolling of the fire, and our rishis always worship fire. So let me put this in perspective using an analogy. Suppose you want to cook rajma, the red kidney beans, or chole, the garbanzo beans. You want to cook them. Instead of cooking them directly, if you soak them overnight for 8-9 hours and then you cook it in the morning for 1 hour, it will be cooked perfectly. Similarly, for some mantras, if you do japa is akin to soaking in water, because water is similar to the bhava that you have when you chant a mantra. So when you are soaking it, it becomes basically softer from inside. Then when you cook, gets cooked faster. Similarly, doing a homa, again, when you cook, there is water also. It's not just fire and water. You're not just frying it. Similarly, when you do homa, you're still chanting the mantra. There is still bhavana. So that water is still there, but in addition, there is also fire. So when you do that, it basically helps. So if you do japa and then if you do homa, it makes it more perfect. But the thing is, suppose you have time, limited time. You don't have a lot of time. You just have 1 hour. Suppose you don't have 8 hours to soak in the night. You just need to prepare rajma. Then you're better off just cooking it. If you cook it for 1 hour, it may not be as perfect, but it is better than, let's say, soaking it for 50 minutes and cooking it for 5 minutes, or soaking for 55 minutes and cooking for 5 minutes. Instead, cook for 1 hour without soaking. That is the best thing you can do in the limited time. Similarly, if you have limited time for sadhana, just doing homa instead of doing japa and homa is effective. Now let us talk about a few practical things. If you have an ability to do outdoors, that is the best, because outdoors, especially today's indoor spaces are really closed. Outdoor spaces have more flow of prana, more better connection with the nature, and also the offerings, the smoke from the fire, instead of being limited to your house, it is basically being given back to the universe. So it is dharmically, it is a better thing to do. So if you have an ability to do outdoors, it is better. But if you don't have that, then you can do indoors also. There is nothing wrong, but this is slightly superior. And then some people say that whenever you do homa, there has to be a roof on top of the homa kunda, so you can't do outdoors. But that is wrong. Outdoor is very, very effective. And practically, the reason for having a roof is if it rains or something, it will basically stop. But the thing is, if you don't need that, you can do outdoors. Then when you do homa, there will be smoke, and some people may tell you this is homa, this is auspicious, etc. But the thing is, smoke is smoke in the end. It can cause cancer, and there are people who worked with fire a lot and they got cancer. So you have to minimize the smoke when you do homa. Of course, if you do outdoors, it just goes out, so there's no risk there. But if you do indoors without good ventilation, it is a good idea to minimize smoke. And the ideal materials for minimum smoke I recommend are sesame seeds, black and white. Both of them are really auspicious. Black seeds are more for the physical and mental aspects, and the white seeds more for the mental and spiritual aspects. So these are auspicious, and they burn nicely because there is a lot of oil in them. And dry coconut, either pieces or halves or whole, and they also burn nicely because there is a lot of oil inside them. When there is already oil in the material, it burns nicely with very little smoke. And nuts like almonds, cashews, walnuts, etc., they also burn nicely. And raisins also, they are really thin, filled with air, and they burn really nicely. You can when you offer ghee, the clarified butter, make sure that you are offering in drops. Don't pour a lot of ghee at once, because you'll just get a puddle at the bottom. So offer ghee in drops, and make sure that there is enough air circulation around the materials offered. If you make all the offerings in one place and there is a big pile, the stuff that is stuck inside in the middle of the pile may not get enough air circulation. It will be unburned, and in general, when there is a lot of unburned material and fire is unable to access it, there will be a lot of smoke. So that's a problem. So make sure that there is enough air circulation. One way to do it is, whatever you are offering, spread it. Don't offer all of it in one place. Spread in one corner, another corner, another corner, and basically keep changing the space where you are offering, and also time it. Offer here, after a while, offer here, after a while, offer here. So if you space your offerings both in time and space, there is a better chance that everything will burn nicely. So with practice, you can know how you can do a homa with very little smoke. And also, if everything is burnt, if everything is consumed by Agnideva as you offer it, in the end also there won't be a lot of smoke. There were cases where I did a homa for 8 hours straight with lot of materials, and at the end, after the Purnahati completely burned, fire just withdrew and just maybe a puff. That's it basically. It is possible to do that way. So you just need to understand the nature of fire, what it wants, how it wants things. So it comes with practice, and if there's a lot of smoke in the beginning, don't panic about it. And as far as firewood is concerned, firewood does generate smoke. If you use firewood, there'll be continuous smoke. So if you are doing indoors, you may want to avoid firewood. Outdoors is fine. And if you in my house, I have a chimney. It's a four-side open fireplace and a chimney, and it goes all the way up to the top of the house, up to the top of the second floor, basically higher than that. So smoke will just go up. So I use firewood. But if you are doing indoors and you don't have enough ventilation, avoid firewood. And cow dung cakes, gobar cakes, they are really, really auspicious, but they generate a lot of smoke. So if you are doing indoors, I suggest avoiding that as well. And havan samagri, you get all this havan samagri, the powdered or small pieces of various herbs and wood, etc. You get it in Indian stores in US. So this havan samagri, it is tough to know what kind of materials were used, whether it's all auspicious materials or there is some rajasic and tamasic material also, if you don't have control over what is inside. And also some people do a poor job and there are small pieces of plastic inside. So unless you know, you are confident about the quality of the havan samagri, you can avoid that. I think with just sesame seeds, nuts, dry coconut and ghee, you can do a very nice homa actually. And diet restrictions. It is good to be a vegetarian in general. If you are into spiritual sadhana, it is more sattvic, and also karmically it is purer, so it will help you in your spiritual sadhana. But if you cannot avoid eating meat or seafood or eggs, then I recommend at least before doing homa, the previous 12 hours or 8 hours or so, put a niyama, a rule, and during that time try not to take anything that is not vegetarian. And similarly with alcohol consumption, it is better to, because it's not a sattvic substance. Of course, exceptions are if you are taking some Ayurvedic medicines like aristas or asvas, they have a small amount of alcohol in them, so that is fine. But if you drink alcohol as alcohol, try to avoid that 8 hours before the homa. And in general, it is better to avoid altogether. But if you cannot do that, start with some limits, and who knows, the limit may keep expanding. For example, I know some people, I get mails from some people who say that they were addicted to alcohol, addicted to drugs, and they discovered my website and started doing Homa by themselves every week and later every day, and then they overcame the addiction. So I know of such examples also. So who knows, it may help you in the long run, but start with the best that you can do. And what kind of clothes to wear for a Homa? Well, some people may feel comfortable wearing traditional clothes, but the thing is, if it's not natural for you, if there's a lot of overhead associated with wearing it and removing it, and also you're not comfortable, you're not able to focus when you are doing the ritual because of the clothes, it's no good. It's not worth it. Any clothes that you are comfortable in, where your mind is not on the clothes but on what you're doing, that's good enough. So whether it's t-shirt and shorts, whether it is vesti and angavastram, whether it is pant and shirt, feel comfortable. It should be loose, comfortable, where you can sit comfortably. And the other thing is, make sure there are no flying or loose ends that can move in a haphazard way, in which case you are dealing with fire. If there is something loose and when you bend, if it falls in the fire, there can be a fire hazard. So there shouldn't be any loose or hanging parts. Everything should be tightly, and everything should be secured properly. What are the best and avoidable times for Homa? Well, the best times are 1 hour before or after sunrise or sunset. Those are really the best times. If you can do, awesome. But for some people, that's not possible. You can do any time. Even midnight is okay. Actually, it is better for certain devatas. But the thing is, probably up to 10 o'clock in the night, it is fine. Closer to the midnight, probably a good idea to avoid. But all other times you can do. But if you have a chance, do it 1 hour before or after sunrise or sunset. Before or after sunrise, before or after sunset. Can you do Homa during an eclipse? Yes, you can. And it is actually very, very effective. I know some great spiritual giants who initiated their disciples into Homa during eclipse time intentionally. Because some Shastras say any sadhana done during eclipse is 1,000 times more effective than other times. And specifically, Homa is 10 times more effective than normal japa or puja. So, Homa during eclipse is very effective. The one thing you have to remember is sun and moon are they are the keepers of dharma. They are the eyes of the cosmic being, and they are the keepers of the order, dharma in the world. So, when sun and moon are weak, when they are eclipsed by Rahu and Ketu, it is not good for dharmic activity. That is why temples are closed, because they stand for dharma, some order in the society, religious order. But Rahu stands for kama, getting what you want at any cost, and Ketu stands for moksha, not wanting anything. So, because Rahu and Ketu are happy, because they are paining sun and moon during eclipse, it is a good time for doing sadhana either for kama, getting a specific desire fulfilled, or moksha, making spiritual progress. Can you allow others to make offerings in fire? This is normally done at temples. Everybody makes offerings in the same fire, but it is not really recommended. If you are doing a one-off Homa, it's different. But if you are doing regularly, some strong bond will be formed between that fire and you. There will be a strong resonance between your spirit, your soul, and the fire in which you are worshipping the divine. So, when some offerings are made by people in that fire, their thoughts and their desires will basically have some resonance on your soul, and they will affect you. Even without offerings, if you are with somebody who has certain desires, it will have an impact on you, but Homa accentuates that. So it is a good idea not to allow others to make offerings. The exception is family members, because wife, husband, children, parents, their karmas are so strongly intertwined that their making offerings in the Homa is not going to intertwine further. It's already completely intertwined. So those are exceptions, but other than that, in general, don't let others make offerings in your fire. And if you want to encourage other people, everybody can have their own Homakunda. You can chant, and you can guide them to do Homa and get them initiated that way, but don't let them make offerings in your fire. And there are some misconceptions about Ayurvedic Pitta dosha. Ayurveda has 3 doshas: Kapha, Pitta, and Vata. And Kapha is water and earth, Pitta is water and fire, Vata Vata is air and ether, air and space. So some people think that because Pitta dosha is water and fire, will Homa increase my Pitta dosha? I already have strong Pitta. Will Homa increase Pitta? That is not correct. The thing is, elements are not just doshas. There are also Ojas, Tejas and Prana. When the earth and water elements inside you are strong, they are well channeled, they are positive, they are not Kapadosha. They become your Ojas, they become your stamina. So they are actually good. But they are when vitiated, when they are bad, when they are negative, when they are not properly channeled, then they become Kapadosha. Similarly, when the air and space elements inside you are bad, are well channeled, they are positive, they become your prana, they become your life force. But when they are vitiated, when they are negative, when they are properly channeled, then they become a dosha, and that is vata dosha. So air element, if somebody has a strong air element in the chart, this doesn't mean he has vata. It may be strong prana also. Similarly, if somebody has the fire element, when it is properly channeled, when it is positive, it is not pitta dosha, it is actually tejas, your subtle energy, your subtle fire inside you, which is your magnetism basically. That is what Homa can do. So now the thing is, Homa, it channels the fire inside you in a positive way. All the negative aspects of it basically removes and purifies the fire inside you. So it does not increase pitta dosha. If anything, if you are already pitta, after a while, that will be converted into tejas. So it is actually a positive thing. And some people will also ask, what if some fire planets are bad in my chart? Can I still do Homa? Well, if some air planets are bad in your chart, you don't stop breathing air. Because breathing air is vital to your sustenance, your physical sustenance. Similarly, doing Homa is very important for your spiritual growth. So it doesn't matter if a fire planet is bad for you or anything, you can still do Homa. Which Devata should I worship? Well, you can worship any Devata that you are attached to. And some astrologers may say, based on your chart, this Devata is good. But really, my 2 cents is that knowledge is corrupted. And astrologers are not really perfect in today's age. So, instead of relying on unreliable knowledge, it is better to just go by your intuition. If your heart says worship Vishnu or Shiva or Lakshmi, worship that Devata. Or if you have a guru that you trust, you can follow them. But the key is, whichever Devata you are worshipping, you should have some emotion, you should have some bhavana, you should be able to feel some connection and surrender to that Devata. That is the vital thing. And whichever Devata allows that, you can stick to that Devata. But to start off, I strongly recommend worshipping Ganesha. Start with Ganapati Homa, and after a few months, you can, when you get the right inspiration, you can move to some other Devata. But at least a couple of months, do Ganapati Homa. And especially on my website, there is a simplest Ganapati Homa. Start with that. And you can start with a really simple procedure, and you can expand the procedure as time goes on. You can add more steps to the procedure. Basically, there are different levels of manuals on my website. So you can start with the simplest and incorporate elements from other manuals. But let me make one point. Even if you stay with the simplest Ganapati Homa for your entire life, it is perfectly fine. It is capable of giving you material progress as well as spiritual progress. First of all, people think that Ganapati is lower and some other Devata has to be worshipped. Because you do Ganapati before every puja, there is this notion that Ganapati is like an appetizer and the other Devatas are like the main course. But the thing is, Ganapati can be the main course also. So you can worship Ganapati for your entire life. And the second thing is, if you enjoy meditation, you can do a very simple procedure and spend more time in meditation. That is as good as doing a really long procedure. Some people who are more ritualistic may like longer procedure, but people who are more into japa, they may want to stick to the simplest manual and do more japa. So you can do this, but this is not necessary. And then there are long sankalpas. In our manuals, we have made it impersonal. We just say, for the pleasure of so-and-so Devata and for increase of dharma in the world, I am doing this ritual. And if you do that, God will bless you in some way or the other at the right time. So we made it impersonal, but there are a lot of detailed sankalpas, about where incorporating where you are currently, what is the current date, time, what is the calendar, etc. You can incorporate all those if you are really so inclined. But again, in days when people did 3-4 hours of sadhana every day, having a 5 or 10 minutes sankalpa made sense. But if you are doing sadhana for, let's say, half hour or hour every day, this is not really that important. And this is really for yourself. This is not for God. God knows who you are, where you are, what you are doing, and why you are doing it. God is really aware of everything. So this is really for ourselves. Just to remind ourselves of who we are, what our lineage is, where we are, and what time we are in. This is not for God. And though we recommend having an impersonal sankalpa for the universe, you can take a specific sankalpa for someone else if you really need to. But when you do that, realize that, see, when you do homa, the karmas are being burnt. But the thing is, there will be some overhead, there will be some spillover, basically, some spillover as you are burning things. Just like some materials may spill over, some karmas may spill over, and some fruits may have to be experienced. Even though some bad karmas will be avoided without experiencing the fruits, some spillover will be there, and you may, if you do a ritual in someone's name, you may experience that. So if you are ready for that, and if you really think that this is the right thing to do, if this is your dharma, do it. But if you are not sure, then it's better to avoid. And you can use long slokas or short mantras. Those who have good focus, you may enjoy taking a short mantra and doing it many times. And those who don't have good focus, you may enjoy taking a long sloka so that your mind is forced to focus on something. So it basically anchors your mind. And if you are traveling, or if you are in a place where you can't do homa with a big fire, you can do deepa homa. You can light a lamp, and with every swaha, with every offering, instead of offering ghee in the fire or some material in the fire, you pour a drop of ghee or drop of sesame oil, not in the fire but outside the fire, in the lamp, in the pool. So you can do deepa homa. It can be just like the normal homa, but you just have a lamp. You can also do manasik homa. You can imagine that the Mooladhara chakra at the base of your spine is a homakonda, and the Sushumna Nadi that is inside, imagine that when you light the fire, say Om Bhurbhuva Sorom, imagine that there is fire. And then imagine that God is coming in that fire. And imagine that you are making offerings to that God. You can do a manasik homa, a mental, imaginary homa. And if your inner fire is sufficiently strong already, you are sufficiently pure already, it can be very effective. When I travel and when I am unable to do homa, this is what I do. Actually, I enjoy it even more than external homa, but as my duty to the world, I do external homa every day when I am home. You can also do Jataragni homa. When you are eating, there is a fire in the digestive system, in the belly. Basically, the food substances that you are putting in are being converted into energy. So that conversion, that transformation is fire. That is, any transformation is done by fire. So that is called Jataragni. So when you are offering food, with every bite, you can mentally say a mantra, and then you imagine that you are offering it to the Jataragni, and Jataragni will distribute it to various devatas inside you. It's just visualization, and if you do that, it is more likely that food will be useful to you or give you positive energy. One last thing, some people see shapes in fire. When you do a homa and when you take snaps, you may see a very interesting picture, very similar to a particular devata, or maybe even the devata you worship, and people get carried away by that. Well, the thing is, when you do worship devatas, they do come in the fire. Whether you actually manage to snap a clip or not at that exact time, devata will be there in the fire. Now the thing is, taking the picture and thinking that, oh, God came in my homa, it just makes you proud. It is just an ego trip. It serves no purpose really. What is more important than whether a particular shape was visible when a particular picture was clicked or not? What is more important is, when you sat in front of the fire, when you meditated, when there was divine presence in it, how did it affect you? How was your mind transformed? What did you experience internally? That is more important than seeing shapes in fire. So my suggestion is, even though it's interesting, it's just a sidetracking. It's basically a distraction. So I suggest ignoring it. Some people ask, can I do in a single homa for multiple devatas? Yes, you can. The initial portion is done once, and after the initial offerings to Prajapati, Indra, Agni, etc., you call a devata, do upacharas to that devata, and do his or her mantra. And then, when you think you are done, enough, this is enough for this devata, call the next devata. Do upacharas to that devata and his or her mantra. And keep doing as many devatas as you want. And at the end, the final portions to Agni, Vayu, Surya, etc., they are done once again, just like the initial portions once. And you can offer a combined Purnahuti. You can chant the mantras of all the devatas and then make the Purnahuti. Or you can pick one of them and offer Purnahuti to just that devata. Either way is fine. So it's basically very simple. You can do as many devatas as you want. And some people ask what to do with the burnt materials. You can leave the coals and ash in the Homakunda and use as base for the next Homa. So the coals will remain, and you basically put new, let's say, coconut pieces and camphor, light it, and then other offerings, and then there'll be another Homa. Like that, basically, you keep doing, and periodically, once every few weeks or couple of months, you can filter out, and the fine ash, you can take it out, and the coals that are left, you can leave them in the Homakunda. They will make a nice base for future Homas. And the fine ash, the grey color ash, it can be applied on the body, especially on the forehead. And by the way, Incas, the South Americans of Peru, who were about 1,000 years back, they had a huge empire there, and they also constructed the sun and moon temples there. They were fire worshippers, and they used to also make tea with the ashes from the fire and drink it. Make a tea, filter it, and drink it. So because it is rich in minerals, and also spiritually it has some blessings from the sadhana, so they used to do that. So that's also a possibility. And by the way, this ash can be used as fertilizer. If you have a farm or garden, it is an excellent fertilizer. Now finally, free manuals for Homa to 32 devatas are on my website, and more will come in future. And the main website is vedicastrologer.org, but I'm trying to move everything to easyhoma.org and easyhavan.org. They are still in development, so they will point to this website currently, but they will be up sooner or later. So you can go to these websites and you can download the manuals, and there are different levels. So I suggest starting off with simplest Ganapati Homa, and do it daily or weekly or monthly, whatever is comfortable enough for you. You have to realize that with any sadhana, first you have to push yourself, but after a while you have to start enjoying it. There has to be a balance between pushing yourself and enjoying it. Without pushing, you will never do anything. So first you have to push, but don't keep pushing. Basically, strike a balance where you actually start to enjoy it also. And the first few homas, because the procedure is new, the mantras are new, and you have to manage fire may be extinguished, and you may have to light it again. So because of all these distractions, you may not enjoy. But after you get a hang of it, after a few homas, it is likely that you will start enjoying it. And thousands around the world have discovered the websites, and they are doing Homa by themselves using our manuals. So you can also enable other interested people, and feel free to share the website and share this video with anybody who may be interested in spiritual sadhana. So I hope that this inspired some of you to do Homa by yourself. And if you are looking for a good muhurta, well, you can start any day. But particularly Guru Purnima is coming soon on Ashada Purnima. So that may be a good day to start Homa by yourself. In any case, I do hope that Agnideva will be pleased with our efforts. And may Agnideva shine bright light on our paths, materially and spiritually. Thank you very much. Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Yavad Bhumandale Sanatana Dharmo Vardhatu. Visheshatah Bhartakande. America Avashe. Tibet Rashtre Cha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.